everyone, I'm Alicia. I'm going to show you guys how to make a baby hat today using my loom knit right here. This little loom, we're going to show you how to do it using this thing right here. And this is just a regular baby hat. Okay, so the things you're going to need are, you're going to need your loom, any size that you want to use. I'm going to use 3 different sizes today just to show you the process of the whole thing. You will need a pair of scissors. You're going to need a hook. This came with my loom. And then you also a yarn needle. And then a needle threader. And then I took a pin, took the insides out, and this is just the outside casing. You're going to need one of these too. This just helps you thread in and out of the pegs. You're going to need yarn, of course, and then just a plastic bottle. Okay, now what I did with the plastic bottle is my grandma taught me how to do this. She would take her yarn, put it in the bottle just like this, and you can thread the yarn through the hole of the top. Instead of it being all flimsy like this, it's all put together in a nice neat bottle. So what I did was I just took the wrapper off of the outside of the bottle, washed it, took the lid off, and then I cut a hole, I'll show you, it's that deep of a hole out of the pop bottle. So you can put your yarn that you're going to use and through here, and then you can thread it through the opening, and then when you're not using it, you can just put the lid back on. So it looks nice and neat So it looks nice and neat like this. And instead of flimsy like this, you have it all put together in here. So I'm going to use that with my bottle. First, I'm going to show you how to start it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my outside of my pen, then I've got some yarn here, and I'm just going to thread it through the top. Now, if this is hard for you to do, or your yarn's not working for you that day, all you got to do is take the needle, thread it through thread the yarn through the needle, and then thread the needle through the pen, and it should work. So all I'm going to do is make a slip knot. And then there's little notches on the outsides of all of your all of your looms, and we're just going to take the slip knot, put it around the notch, and then just pull it semi-tight, not too tight because you're going to take it off halfway through. Okay, so I just take it and put my pen all the way to the loom, and what you do, let me get in towards the camera, is I'm always going to work towards me, and so my loom's always going to be my left hand, my pen's going to always be my right hand. And what you're going to do is you're going to work towards you, and you're going to take it, and it's always going to be, you're always going to work to the left. So I'm going to work to the left of the peg. When it's facing you, it's going to be to the left of the peg. Okay, so we're going to go under the first peg and around it, under the second peg and around it, and all the way around until you are at the beginning. Okay, now that you're at the beginning. With this loom project, you want to make sure that you have 2 looms on here at all times. So what we're going to do is just going to keep going all the way around until we come back to the beginning. So we're just going to go all the way around the looms until we are back at the beginning. So we have 2 loops on each one. And now I usually just secure it by putting it where the slip knot is. I usually just go around that a couple times and then securing it. That secures it. Now you're going to take your hook right here, and you're going to go to the bottom one. And the first one's always the hardest. So remember how I told you to make the slip knot a little loose? That'll help you with the very first one. What you have to do is you have to put your hook under the very first one, and I kind of just shimmy a little bit, and then you want to pull it over the first one and then off of the peg. And you have to shimmy it a little bit because the first one's always difficult. The first one's always the hardest. Okay. So, now that the first one's off, the second one and the ones after that are simple. Now you just do the second one. You take it and grab it. You want to go over the first one, just like that, and then pull it off. And then you can push it down to the bottom. And you do that all the way around until you are back at the beginning. And then once you're back to the beginning, you undo your secured knot, and then I just hold it until I'm all the way back at the beginning. Once my secured knot's undone, we want to do it again because now we only have one loop around the loom, and we want to have two. So you just make a noise. Pick up your pin again, and just go under the first loop, under the first peg, and all the way around again until you're back to the beginning. And then you secure it where the slip knot is, and then you just like earlier, you take the bottom one and go over the top one and push it down. Take the bottom one over the top one, and then I push it down. Bottom over top, push it down. You keep going all the way around until you have about 5 or 6 rows. Then once you have about 5 or 6 rows, you can take your slip knot off. So what I do when I take my slip knot off, now that I'm back to the beginning, and say that's 5 or 6 rows I've just done. What you can do is just pull your slip knot off, and see how easy that was? I pulled off because I made it loose. And all you do is I just pushed my slip knot to the back of all my work, so it's hanging behind it. And you can just let it hang there until you're done, until you're done with your project and you need to hide it later. Okay, so you want to keep going until you have enough to do the brim. Now the brim consists of, I'm going to pick up I have another loom here with some on it. Now with the brim, what you want to do, I'll show you with my pink hat here. This part right here is the brim. What it consists of doing is you take your work and you're going to fold it over and connect it to all the things. So when you have this much, you're actually going to fold it in half, and you're only going to have half of that. So what you do is I'm just going to push my work through it, and we're going to hide your little slip knot here. What I did is I went ahead and took the slip knot out of it, and we're going to hide it in your work. What I mean by hiding it is I'm just going to put my little slip knot yarn between the pegs and my actual work. So I'm encasing it in this little hole right here. I'm locking it in this hole. And what you want to do is we want to take our very first, like we did on here, our very first loop around, and we want to put it on the pegs. So you find your very first loom. It's kind of hard for the camera to see. You take your very first loom and you connect it to the peg. You just put it on the peg. And then you go to the next one. Find the very first one and go. You do that all the way around until you are back to the very beginning. Now, with this one, depending on how big your work is or how big your loom is, it may take longer and it may take a shorter time, or it might take a shorter time. I made preemie hats where I made them in 10 minutes flat because the hats were so small. And I made a purse and it took me a couple hours to do because it was bigger than, of course, the preemie hat. So now that we're all the way back to the beginning, and remember when I said that we always want to have 2 loops around here when we do it. If you check it, there are 2 loops all the way around my work. So what we do now, since there's 2 loops, we don't have to put the loops around. Since there's already 2, all you gotta do is take your hook, go to the first one, put it in there, and push it down. So you go the back one, over the top one, and push it down. The back one, over the top one, and push it down. And you do that all the way over again until you are back to the beginning. And then once you're back to the beginning, then it's just like when we did this one. You have to loop it around again with your pin. Once you have 2 on there, you pull it off. Loop it around again. Once you have 2, pull it off. You continue and do that until you have enough for a hat. I have this right here, so this is enough for a baby hat. There are requirements of how big the brim is and stuff and how much hat you have. This depends on the type of project you're doing. If you look, this has pretty much the same size as this baby hat here, so I'm using the same pattern for both. Now, since we have our desired length, we want to take this off the loom. And what you do is, I already went ahead and cut the yarn off, and I'm going to thread the yarn through the needle using my little special needle threader. This needle threader comes in handy. I can see very well, but I have family members that are pretty blind. So I bought it, and I've kind of taken it over from them. But what you do is, remember how I told you that you always want to work to your left? What we're going to do is work to our left. So this will be your left, but it's not right because I'm showing you. But you want to take it, and you want to put, there's little notches right here. You can see them. It's where it threads. You can push the needle in there, and you want to pick up your yarn, and you want to pull the whole thing off of the loom, and then just pull it through the yarn. And then the same thing with the second one. You pick it up and you pull it off and push it through. And then you go to the third one. You pick it up, take it off, and push it through. And you do that over and over and over again until you have the whole hat done. Now, there are multiple styles for looms. There's not just circle ones. There's square ones, there's rectangle ones, and there's all kind of projects you can do with these looms. You're not limited to baby hats. You can do scarves and blankets and socks and baby booties, and you can even make a teddy bear if you have the instructions. So you're definitely not limited to just doing hats. I've made a purse before. You can make water bottle holders. So it's not just a one-dimensional project maker. You can pretty much do a whole wardrobe with this. Though I'm not sure how you would do the pants, but I'm pretty sure there's designs out there that show you how to do the pants. Okay, so we are almost back to the beginning. Just like that, we are back. Now, take the last one off. You are completely off the loom. So we can set the loom down, and you want to make sure that you are still connected to your yarn. And I almost fell off. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the top where the yarn starts. You can see how there's that big hole in there. If you stick your hand through there, that's going to be the top of your hat. You don't want the baby to have a coat head. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just hold the yarn just like that. Have this yarn in my other hand, and I'm just going to pull. And it's all going to cinch together. And then if you have to, you can shimmy it a little more to make sure that it's completely closed. And then I always just stick my finger through to make sure that you can't see any fingers or toes. Or stick your feet through it. Now, this is where we're going to talk about the inside-outside part. Okay, this is when you do it. It looks like this. This is going to be the inside. And this is going to be the outside. I don't like this part because you can't really see the brim and the line of it. I like the inside because you can see that there's definitely a brim there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to flip my hat inside out. But before that, I have to push the yarn through to the other side. So I'm just going to make sure it's pulled tight. I'm just going to push it through the top. And then once it's through the top, we can just flip your hat inside out. So now the outside becomes the inside. Just like that. Okay, now what we're going to do is we need to sew it up. So we're just going to sew up each side, going one way on the top and then going the other way. Back and forth until it is tightly sewed so it won't come open when it's in the wash or stuff. You can do as much as many as little as you want. I'm just going to do a couple. And then you just want to fasten it off. You just want to fasten it off. And then we'll just cut it. Just like that. Pull it tight. Okay. That's the inside of your hat. And then there you go. You have a baby hat. Just a cute.